Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I too value higher education, and I understand that the amendment that we have before us does some cuts into higher education. We also do a lot of funding for kids that don't want to go into higher education. They're doing vocational technical learning, those kind of things. But as one of the previous speakers said before me, the higher education budget has become extremely bloated. We are seeing a great decline in our students who actually want to go to college. And so by taking non-faculty and going back to the 2008 level, we can save hundreds of millions of dollars in Washington State while still serving our students appropriately. So I don't think it's a bad idea for Washington State residents to look at what's been happening in higher education and to look at all the money that's been wasted in the higher education field and say, we want certain things in our state. And one of those things is we want our state to be safe. A lot of people do not feel safe in Washington State right now. For instance, we have the third highest crime rate in the nation. We have the second highest property crime rate in the nation. We have the first highest retail theft in the nation. And as was indicated earlier, not a very good statistic either, as we are 51st in the nation for police officers per capita. And so trying to get police officers to come to Washington State, due to a lot of legislation that has been passed, has been very hard to get them to want to actually be here and to be police officers for us. You know, on opening day of this session, I was inspired. We had a new governor standing where you're standing right now, and some of the things that he mentioned were not only important to me, but they were important to my community. And a lot of my community members were very surprised by the speech of our new governor. One of the things he talked about was working bipartisan to find solutions. And a couple of the things that he talked about were funding police officers, $100 million for police officers. And he talked about, I was very surprised that day for him to bring up a bill that I had before the House to say, if this makes it to my desk, I want to sign it because I think it's important. And that piece of legislation is inside of this amendment to actually help our first responders want to be first responders in Washington State, to help them purchase a home, to help them to live in a community that they're proud of. I have a police officer that lives in my neighborhood. And the one thing that having a police officer lives in your neighborhood does, Mr. Speaker, it creates a relationship with the members of that community. It creates a relationship with children that they like to be around the police officers. It gives amazing community support. So this bill was actually, by putting the Homes for Heroes bill inside of the state budget, was to say that we would like our police officers in our communities. We would like to recruit them into our communities and give them a place to live, because housing costs have gotten so expensive in Washington State that people can hardly afford to live here and to be recruited here to work in our state. And so this amendment is going to help recruit. It's going to help retain police officers, firefighters, nurses. And so I'm encouraging a yes vote today to try to make our streets and our public safer in Washington State.